this time of year as a coach, what you try to do is, you look at ways to up drills. And I noticed what he was doing with our starting pitchers. He had those guys. I've seen it before where they've had like long toss. Guys on one side of the field and tossing all the way across the field. But it was unusual because he was throwing it like straight up, and they were coming down about 50 yards away, and things. And I thought that was interesting. And then, you see the normal drills like with your outfielders. They're doing their crow hopping and hitting targets. But then it made sense when they brought them all together what we were doing. And we were getting ready for a snowball fight because we had all our starters lobbing those mortars up there, and then our guys firing at the targets and things. So that was interesting to me. But anyway, 4 in the morning, that's what you get. All right. So I should have just said that I think we've decided to move all our April and May games to August when the snow melts, but I don't know, maybe I'll go with that one next. But anyway, I'll open it up for questions. Go ahead and fire away.
What was it like for you to see the Patriots with the Super Bowl?
It was terrible. Next question. Now, you know what? That was a great game. Obviously a great game. I think it was anticipated that it was going to be a great game. You had two outstanding teams, both of them really well coached, and obviously it was an outstanding game.
Rex, what do you get most out of the combine?
Usually get a couple of buffalo wings and things like that, but no, really what you get, the best thing about the combine is when you get to meet the players. And I think you have 60 interviews, and they're 15 minutes apiece, and what I like is you get the assistant coaches involved. You take their some of their film, and you find out a little bit about what they remember about their schemes, how they've been taught, different things. And sometimes you can tell if a guy's really like a gym rat type guy, if they really love it, they're passionate about it and things, and it's good. And then there's other times when you walk out there like, wow, that guy doesn't know anything. Like, he doesn't retain anything. But if he's a really good player, you don't really care. But either way, no, it's. But those are the main things, and then you watch them. I like watching them compete on the field as well. It's because it is competition out there. Whether you're running a 40, whether you're bench pressing, whatever the things that you're doing, it's just another way of competing, and you always love to see those guys compete.
Coach, I know you're here for the combine. I'll ask you some of those questions soon, but since we happen to talk about the Patriots off top, I just was curious. Ted Wells is still conducting his investigation, so if anything comes out that indicts the Patriots anyway, I'm just curious if you personally, being a coach in this league amongst the brotherhoods, would you receive the Patriots win any differently if something were to come up?
I'm not. Obviously, I think they earned the Super Bowl. Period. That's the way I'd see it.
Where did Darrell finally win a Super Bowl ring?
All right, now, I was waiting. I knew it would come from somebody, but see, my first year, I would have done this, and I would have swung at that pitch, and probably been fined for tampering or something like that. This time, no way am I going to talk about somebody else's player, so I refuse to do that.
You signed Richie Incognito. What was your thinking behind that signing, and what did you tell him in regard to being a good citizen this time around?
Well, I think the first thing is, I've played against Richie Incognito, and I know he's an outstanding player. If he wasn't an outstanding player, would I have had the conversation with him? No. I mean, the truth of the matter is no. But knowing that kind of, what kind of player he is, we wanted to find out for ourselves where he's at and have a conversation with him. Obviously, we felt good about him moving forward and doing things, conducting himself in a way where he's a good teammate, and I expect him to be that. But as far as what he brings to the table, he's an outstanding player. So, he hadn't played in a year or so, but one thing I can tell you is he's been working out, and he was in great shape. He appeared to be in great shape, and I'm excited to have him on my team.
Was there one thing you said that really reassured you that he would be a good citizen moving forward?
Well, I'm not going to mention, a conversation that we had, but safe to say that if we didn't feel good about him as a citizen and what he would be like in the locker room, being a good teammate, then he wouldn't have been here. So the fact that we're comfortable, and me in particular, are very comfortable with him in those settings and in my locker room and in our locker room, and hey, I get it. I get all the questions about him, and I understand, where they're coming from. And I recognize that there's several people in our population that will not give this guy a second chance. That no matter what he does, he's going to be, looked at a certain way. But I think the majority of the people in our community, in particular, are going to take a wait and see approach, and I think that's all Richie wants. And I think that's, in my opinion, that's what people deserve. And we'll see what he does from there. But I'm confident that that good things will happen.
Given his history, do you feel like you might need to add more depth at guard, more insurance, in case it doesn't work out?
I think we're going to be looking at, the guard position, the tackle position, overall that offensive line. That was something that we think that we can really add to our football team and make it a strength of our team. I think when your offensive line and your defense is the strength of your team, you got a chance. And certainly that's what we're definitely looking in those areas.
Is figuring out the quarterback position your number one priority, and how did Josh McCown's position go?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously that would be it. I think this league's proven that when you got a great quarterback, you almost it's rare that you don't go to the playoffs with a great quarterback. So obviously that's a priority, and not just for our team, but any team in this league. But it's a lot easier said than done. It'd be nice to get somebody like that. I'm not saying that that we have that situation right now. I'm excited about E.J. Manuel, though. I'll tell you that much. I think he's a young man that has some potential. We'll see how that pans out. We did bring Josh in, so obviously there's some interest there on our part. We wanted to bring him in to see, just to get to know this young man, and also for him to get to know us. I'm excited about our coaching staff, and I think that's probably the best selling point that I have right now, along with the players that we have. Obviously, we got an outstanding group of players too that I like to show off to a lot of guys.
Just generally speaking, how big of a position is 3-4 inside linebacker than that 3-down kind of guy, especially the way the passing game has gone?
I think a lot of times, teams right now, it seems like most teams are going to maybe just one inside linebacker and dropping another defensive back down. But in an ideal world, you'd like to have two guys that can be every down players there for you.
Is that a hard spot to fill?
Well, we're fortunate. I mean, we have some guys, and we have a lot of depth at that position. So I feel good about the guys that we have.
Coach, what do you feel about the possibility of Gilmore taking it to another level on the backside of your secondary there?
I'll say this about him. He's watching the tape, I'm extremely excited about our secondary. Obviously, Donnie Henderson's done a tremendous job with that group, coaching them, but it's a great group, and he doesn't give up many completions. I'd like to see him turn the ball over a few more times, but they don't throw at him, and there's a reason for it. I think the young man's got a big upside, but he's pretty darn good now.
Rex, when you went from Baltimore to New York, you signed several guys that were familiar with your defense from Baltimore to kind of help teach the defense. Is that something you would look to do again now in Buffalo?
I don't think it's as important here as it was when I made the transition from Baltimore to New York. And the reason I say that is obviously Mike Pettin was there 2 years previously, and so he brought in a lot of, might not have been the exact defense, but a lot of the terms, the system, a lot of that is will be familiar to him. So I don't think it's quite as important as it was in the past.
Is the possibility of Sanchez joining you in New York Goldberg's still alive, and what do you think the market's going to be like for him?
All right, here we go. I'm about right-handed on this. I'm gonna let that bad boy go too. He's on somebody else's team, I think.
Rex, in an interview this week, Chris Johnson said his playing time wasn't dictated by you last year, but the front office dictated how much he played. Is that an accurate statement?
I'm gonna let that one go by too.
He's free.
I may foul it off, but no, and it's not about him. But quite honestly, you know, I'm the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, and you probably have Jets coming up later or whatever, so you can ask them. But I'm moving on, and I'd be more than happy to, you know, and respectfully, I'm not going to answer that question, but it's because it serves no purpose for me anyway.
You're the first coach in like 15 years to coach 2 teams in the same division in consecutive years. Is it kind of bizarre to stay in the same division, or does it make it easier just with the familiarity?
I think it makes it easier from your preparation standpoint, but it probably makes it easier for your opponent as well. You know, they do know me and things like that, but it is an unusual situation, certainly.
Rex, as you build your team, how closely do you look at the Patriots right now and want to add guys to specifically beat them? How closely do you kind of compare yourselves to the Patriots in terms of who to add to the team?
Well, I get the questioning, but I think it's more the fact that, you know, these are the world champions, so, you know, you want to beat them, period. There's no doubt. So if you're going to try to knock one team off, it'd be the world champions. That's where, not just me, that's where everybody wants to get to that level. Obviously, we got a lot of ground to make up.